My name is Kristy Long, and I'm from the Montgomery Central High School FCCLA chapter in Tennessee. My star event I chose is Say Yes to FCS Education. My title of my project is A Day in the Life of an FCS Education Teacher. My main concern with this project is I chose this star event because I want to influence the future generation to join the FCS career field. And I noticed, especially since the pandemic started, that there has been a major increase in jobs in this particular career field, so I decided that there is a need to promote these careers. Also, another reason why I chose the STAR event is because I want to explore the different subjects of teaching, because I for sure want to become a teacher. My main goals for my project is to explore the career of FCS education. My second goal is to successfully teach an FCS education classroom, and my third goal is to market FCS careers to my fellow peers. So for my project, my plan involved many people and many things. The people who were involved was me, my FCCLA advisor, Maggie Tucker. She's also my FACS teacher. It also involved my school principals, my current teachers, and Ashlyn Frizzell. I researched FCS education as a career. I interviewed 2 FCS educators. I observed an FCS classroom and a CTE classroom, and I marketed FCS education as a career to my fellow peers. The timeline of my project started from November 7th when I interviewed Amy Jones, which is a FACS professor at UT Martin. Next, I interviewed Maggie Tucker, who is my current FACS teacher. Next, I observed Maggie Tucker's classroom. Then I observed a CT classroom, which was Ashlyn Frizzell's classroom. She teaches agriculture. And then I taught on December 2nd and 3rd to Maggie Tucker's classes. I completed all of this in Montgomery Central High School. I decided to do this because I wanted to promote FCS careers to my peers, and I did this through researching, interviewing, observations, and teaching. This project did not cost me anything, however it did cost me a lot of time and energy. My resources were Maggie Tucker, the National and Tennessee FCCLA website, the American Association of Family Consumer Sciences website, a computer with internet access, Nearpod, Google Forms, Gmail, PowerPoint, and the FCCLA Say Yes to FCS Education toolkit. My evaluation for this project was I did a Google Forms over each main point of my lesson, and Ms. Tucker gave me constructive feedback after every single class I taught. So I've already went through most of the process of how I did. On November 7th, I attended a virtual UT Martin tour. When I was there, I Zoomed with Amy Jones, who is, I believe, the fashion FACS teacher there at UT Martin. Then on November 12th, I met with Maggie Tucker, who is my FCCLA advisor and FACS teacher. I interviewed her, and then I also observed her early childhood education careers 2 class. Then on November 13th, I observed the Agri-Science CT class at my school taught by Ashlyn Frizzell. After I completed the interviews and observations, I met with Ms. Tucker to talk about me marketing FCS careers to my peers via teaching. On December 2nd and 3rd, I decided that me and Ms. Tucker agreed that that's the time I'm going to teach. It overall went successful. At the end of both days, Ms. Tucker evaluated me and gave me constructive feedback. And also at the near class, since we had a little bit of extra time, the students were able to evaluate me and give me constructive feedback. The way I wanted to follow up with my lesson because I wanted to improve myself, have more confidence, and incorporate more hands-on activities in my lesson. And overall, I want to be more prepared. Also, since I'm in the follow-up stage, I would like to thank my FCCLA advisor for her guidance and dedication to my project. Also, I would like to thank my school's faculty and staff for being flexible and understanding while I was pursuing my STAR event. Here's my evidence of online summary submission. So the first step that I had to do in my FCS STAR event is that I had to research 3 different colleges or post-secondary institutions who offer FACS programs. So I researched UT Martin, MTSU, which is Middle Tennessee State University, and Eastern Carolina University. And there's the information in the chart, and also another part of my research was to find out facts information from the state, like how many programs are in middle and elementary schools and high schools, the job outlook, teacher salary, etc. The second/third step I had to do was observe classrooms and interview FCS teachers. My first interview was with Maggie Tucker, who is a teacher at Montgomery Central High School, and here is her interview the summary of her interview. Next, I had to interview Amy Jones, who was a post-secondary facts professor at UT Martin. Then I observed Maggie Tucker's classroom. It was her early childhood 2 class at Montgomery Central High School. I did this on November 12th, and the grade level in that class was 10th through 12th grade, since it was the level 2 early childhood course. She overall did amazing with her observations. She was very organized. She had a content matter. She knew what she was doing, basically. Next, I observed Ashlyn Fizell. She taught the Agri-Science Academy at Montgomery Central High School. I completed this observation on November 13th in 2020. And since this was the intro class to the academy, it was for 9th graders only. So she was very knowledgeable about her subject matter, and in her classroom that day, she had to perform farm maintenance as needed because we have a farm on campus. So a cool thing about the classroom is that we all went outside to the farm for the class instead of staying in a traditional classroom where there's just a lesson and a quiz or whatever. So she did very well. She integrated FFA into her classroom through the activities as she does as on the farm and everything. Also, a tiny little step that I had to do a part of my project was I had to figure out how I could integrate the FCCLA national programs into lesson plans. So I tie the national program career connections to Ms. Tucker's early childhood education classes. I tie student body to lifespan development, and then finally I tied the national program financial fitness to family studies. Finally, the main part of my project was conducting an FCS classroom. So the topic of my lesson was Say Yes to FCS education. Since Ms. Tucker's classes are a variety of grades, I taught the grades 9 through 12. The classes lasted about an hour and a half, and the national program I tied it into was Career Connections. And I also tied it to the STAR event, Say Yes to FCS education. My main learning objective for the lesson was that I can identify careers in the FCS field, which throughout the project and the teaching of the project and everything, it was done. The Family Consumer Science Standards I tied it to was 1.16, which is develop a life plan including pathways to acquiring knowledge and skills needed to achieve individual, family, and career goals. And I also tied it to 1.21, which is analyze potential career choices to determine the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and opportunities associated with each career. And as I taught this lesson, everything highlighted at the bottom was the career readiness skills that I applied to my lesson. So the students needed a laptop with internet access, the FCS career puzzle, which Ms. Tucker created, and then I provided it to the students. The instructional strategies I used was direct instruction because I lectured through the Nearpod, and I had a post-assessment. Next, I did interactive instruction, which students engaged in multiple class discussions throughout the lesson in different polls, and etc. And then the final instructional strategy I used was experiential instruction, which was the FCS career puzzle. So my first activity was the FCS career puzzle bell ringer. This took about 10 minutes, including class discussions, and they needed the career puzzle and a laptop with internet access. So after students walk in the classroom and the bell rung and they got settled in, they will complete the FCS career puzzle. This puzzle had different FCS titles on it, like baking and baking and pastry, early childhood education, education training. Overall, the titles on the puzzle had different FCS careers on them, or the main areas of FCS on it. And so after they completed the puzzle and put it together, they will open their laptop into Google Classroom, and they will answer the question, look at the puzzle that you just completed. What do all the titles have in common on it? After all the students answer, I will initiate a class discussion about the students' answers. The second activity was an interactive Nearpod and GimKit review. This took about an hour and 10 minutes. All they needed was a laptop. I did a student-paced Nearpod with them, and they answered any questions and polls and watched any videos I provided. Then finally, my last activity was a post-assessment. It took about 10 minutes. It was a laptop with internet access. Students will go in the Google Classroom and complete it. And the assessments I did was a pre-test, which is the FCS career puzzle, because they had to make the connection. I wanted to see if they could between the puzzle titles and the careers. Then I did the post-test via Google Forms. Here was one of the polls I did in my Nearpod, and it showed what career field of FCS that they were most interested in. And my post-assessment averaged about 80-90%, so I taught successfully. Here is a few pictures. The next slides are going to be pictures of me teaching. There's the FCS puzzle, me teaching and helping students out. And there we go. Here is my bibliography. So the last questions for the interview part of my project. The first question was, what is one skill you learned or improved upon during your project that you will use in the next school year or in your career, in your future career? I learned how to successfully navigate through Zoom, Google Classroom, and Nearpod through a teacher's perspective. Since I only known it as a student, I know how to get more out of these programs. And then the second question was, what obstacles cause challenges in your work and how did you address them? Since we're in a global pandemic, that was the main cause of my project. That was the main obstacle I had to face. Because I wasn't able to teach in a classroom first, but then me and my school administration talked it out, and I was able to teach. I followed COVID protocols when I taught, and when I planned my lesson, I had to keep in mind I had virtual students that were quarantined or contact traced. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my project. Have a great day.